And outside the government, the violent insurrection on the Capitol was the last straw. But one group of voters in particular has not been deterred in its support for Donald Trump. Polling finds that a majority of white evangelical voters do not think President Trump is to blame for the riot. 31% say the president deserves a great deal or good amount of blame, compared to the 65% who say he doesn't.
Okay, so get this. That same poll finds that white evangelical voters do not trust the outcome of the presidential election. 63% say they do not believe the election results were accurate. We're 3 days before the inauguration. 63% of white evangelical voters do not believe the results. 33% say they do. Well, joining us right now is Sarah Posner. She is the author of Unholy: Why Evangelicals Worship at the Altar of Donald Trump. Sarah, good morning to you.
Morning.
Can you wrap your head around that? I don't get it.
So I think something that you need to understand about white evangelical support for Trump is that for decades, white evangelicals have been marinating in various apocalyptic end time scenarios. They've been indoctrinated with the idea that the government is against them, is anti-Christian, and is out to take away their religious freedom, and that they've been called to engage in spiritual warfare against America's demonic enemies who are trying to undermine what they believe is America's Christian heritage. And so when Trump became the nominee in 2016, they were told that God anointed Donald Trump. Throughout his presidency, they've been told that God placed him in the White House, and that he's been the most pro-life and the most pro-religious freedom president ever, and that you need to continue to engage in that kind of spiritual warfare in order to protect the president from these enemies. So all of that made white evangelicals very susceptible to QAnon conspiracy theories, which hold that there's a deep state of demonic, demon-worshipping, pedophile sex traffickers who were aiming to stage a coup against President Trump, and that patriots needed to get, involved in protecting him. And then later, the conspiracy theory that the election was stolen from him. And so if you've been taught to believe that the government is run by the deep state, you would even believe that the Republican leadership in the state of Georgia, which pushed back on Trump's false claims that there was fraud in the election in Georgia, must be tools of the deep state. They're not to be believed. The dozens of judges who ruled against Trump aren't to be believed. And so when we saw all of that religious iconography on January 6th at the Capitol, it's not surprising given all of this rhetoric over the decades leading up to Trump and over the course of Trump's presidency.
So where do we go from here? The president has lost his favorite megaphone, Twitter. Joe Biden will be inaugurated this week. Do you see the president's hold on many white evangelicals to remain as strong as ever?
I do, and that's just because many of them are so embedded in this idea that Trump's enemies are evil, and that it's their duty to protect him or protect the Christian nation from them. By way of example, Franklin Graham, who's a very strong supporter of President Trump, put on his Facebook page a post this week which accused the 10 Republicans in the House who voted for the one article of impeachment. He compared them to Judas, who betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver.
Sarah Posner, thank you so much for spending some of your Sunday morning with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And up next, a change.